What happened? You went to Prampram.
Yes.
Yeah, what did you find?
Ningo Prampram. So as you know, Ningo Prampram, anytime there is any election, is part of the constituencies which are tipped as the hotspots in any election, even when it's primaries. And it's quite interesting because you realize that that constituency is a stronghold of the NDC. Mm-hmm. But in any election, whether internal election or the main election, you realize that there's a lot of attention.
MPP have never won it since 92.
MPP have never won it since 92. They've never won it. It was E.T. Mensah who used to be there before Sam George came in to take the seat from E.T. Mensah. So I went there during the NDC primaries, and as usual, everything started quite well. So the pictures, we've seen some pictures of what happened that day. Everything started calmly. The election started at about 8 a.m. By the time I arrived, they arrived about 7:30 a.m. Sam George was already on the field. So you will see some pictures on the screen now of people. So this is when people had lined up to go and cast their ballots. And they had about 1,117 delegates.
In how many polling stations?
It's just one center.
One center, okay.
One center. But the center was divided to 2 polling units. Depending on the area that you are coming from, that's where you choose your polling unit and go. And this picture tells a story of when there was heated exchanges and disagreements between the two parties, where some delegates were not being allowed to go and vote because they said their names were not in the register, and the other party were saying they were going to resist that. And Sam George was very agitated at that time. But of course, what he wanted was that he wanted his ballot boxes to be protected. So,
ballot boxes, what does that mean?
So when the confusion was happening, what he was focused on was that he was telling the police to focus on protecting the ballot box so that no one picks the ballot box. So that was...
There was only one ballot box?
No, it was 2 ballot boxes, 2 centers. So when the
confusion...
he
was worried that somebody would pick the ballot box and run away?
Yes, so he was just telling the security people that please focus on the ballot boxes, protect them, protect the ballot boxes. So this is when the police were trying to calm the situations down over there. It lasted for about an hour. The confusion lasted about an hour and 30 minutes, where they couldn't get any middle ground until the police were able to make calm and the two main parties, Sam George and also MTK, Michael Tetekwete, they were brought together and they had a meeting and things were able to be resolved. So this is when the confusions were happening. You could see how this guy was very agitated at that time. So he's a supporter of MTK, and he was
the
very
guy in
agitated.
The orange stripe?
Yes. So this is when the people were not, they said we're not going to allow them to vote because their names was not in the voters' roll. And then they were protesting against that they should allow them to vote because they have court orders. So this is when the elections, it started looking like Sam George was going to win, and his supporters started
jubilating. I do the counting. That's why I bring you to the question. Ahead of the contest, it was said that it's going to be close, It was not close at all. We were told that the last one was so close, less than 10 votes separated.
Yes, it was 7 votes. Sam George won by 7 votes.
Yeah, so why that may have
so the reason why people thought
it
was going to close was because of Sam George's contender. That is Michael Tetekwete. He's a very influential.
Was he the same contender the last time?
Yes, the last time. And it was he's very influential in the constituency. After losing to Sam George in 2019, he went for regional. He went to contest as regional chairman. And he lost by just 30 votes to Ashimon. And so he's very influential in the constituency. And so coming back, he thought that having lost by just 7 votes, this time he could push on and probably win. And that's why many people kept their eyes. And also the rhetorics that both contenders were saying before the elections also meant that a lot of attention had to go there. But what happened this time is that in the last elections, they had about eligible voters about a little over 800. But this time, because a lot of branches had been created, the eligible voters had increased. And most of these branches that were created were something that were the mastermind of Sam George. And so the delegates in those branches were in a way behind Sam George.
They were beholden to him because he had brought them a branch.
Yes, he had brought them a branch. And that's why that's what made the difference and the gap a bit huge. Because Michael Tetekwete, he lost a lot of attention and focusing on the regional. When he went to the regional, he lost a lot of attention in what was happening in the constituency because he was focusing on winning the chairmanship of the regional. When he was not able to win, he came back, and by that time, Sam George had already gained a lot of grounds within the party because the branches had started coming up and he had started also campaigning for new executives of the constituency. So most of the executives in the constituency now were backing Sam George. And those who used to be there, those executives who used to be there during Michael Tetekwaite's time, because he was the chairman before in 2019 and resigned to come and contest Sam George and lost. When he was the chairman there, the executives there, they were backing him. So in the next election, the executive election, he didn't support a lot of those that he was with at that time. And so it resulted in them also leaving his camp and going to Sam George's camp. And all resulted in him losing the election. But he fought a good fight because if you look at the numbers that he also got, it was against Sam George, who going into the election was arguably the most popular member of parliament due to his campaign on the anti-LGBT bill. He was very popular in the constituency. He's very popular not only in the constituency but the whole of the country. And being able to pull that vote, it shows that he's very influential in the constituency. And he also had the backing of the former member of parliament, E.T. Mensah. That's Michael Tetekwaite. Although E.T. Mensah didn't campaign for him in public, but it's said that E.T. Mensah campaigned for him. He backed him because the story is that when E.T. Mensah was member of parliament, Michael Tetekwaite and Sam George were all in the camp of E.T. Mensah. So they were those he was training. And MTK was the one who was being trained to come and replace E.T. Mensah. So in 2015, when they were going for the primaries, E.T. Mensah was supposed to go for his last term. Then MTK will come and take over. But Sam George left the camp of E.T. Mensah and contested E.T. Mensah and won it. So it's like Sam George had torpedoed MTK because MTK was supposed to come next after E.T., but he came and he won it. And now MTK is trying to take it back from Sam George. Twice now he's failed. We'll see what's happening.
ETK comes from Ningo.
E.T. Mensah comes from Prampram.
E.T. Mensah is Prampram.
Prampram. And Sam George and MTK are both their cousins.
Which one is bigger? Ningo and Prampram, which is bigger in terms of numbers?
In terms of number, Prampram.
Constituency numbers?
Yes, Prampram has the number. But the constituency is a very huge constituency. It shares borders with Katamansu constituency. That's when you're on the Akosombo Road. You meet Mataiko, Afienya, Shai Hills. There are some parts which are also in the constituency and also Adan, the First Lady's hometown. It's also part of the constituency. The constituency is a huge constituency. So it's a kind of constituency that only Prampram or only Ningo cannot decide. The other areas in the other places also play a huge part in deciding on elections dates in that constituency.
If all NDC people, everybody who is NDC, was voting, would the turnout, would it be the same?
Would the turnout?
No, not the turnout, the outcome. The outcome, would it be the same? I mean, everybody in NDC is voting for either Sam George or him or
MTK.
MTK. Will it be the same?
It would have been very close to call, because MTK also has a lot of support.
Some of whom are not delegates.
Yes, he has a lot of support, and because he has invested, he's a businessman who's invested a lot in the constituency. Investment that are visible that people know about. He's in farming. He owns about a 90-acre farm where he has employed a lot of people in the farms. He has built about 9 canoes where he has given to fishermen to use to fish, and he has given fishermen about 20 outboard motors. He has given them out to fishermen. He's currently building a police station at Dowenya. He has refurbished some police stations. So he's someone who is very known in the constituency, and has been there for a very long time, because since E.T. Mensah's time, he's always been in the picture. And so it would have been very close to call. But I think maybe Sam George would have edged it a bit. What's going on for Sam George now is because of his campaign on the anti-LGBTQI bill. So he's getting a lot of support based on that. Even because before that election... Is it
true that the guy is gay?
No, it's not. He came to deny all that he even received sponsorship. You know, Sam George dared...
alleged that.
Yes, and he dared him that if it's not true, he should come out. And he actually came out and said that he's not received funding from anybody, and it's from his own fund. And people in the constituency will tell you that he has businesses enough to finance himself, and he does not need financing.
Is it true that he paid 1,900 to delegates and Sam George paid 800?
He paid more than Sam George.
But you don't know how much who paid.
I know, but I don't know if I should.
No, you can't say it because you don't.
Yeah,
they didn't give it to you. You don't have evidence. Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that's interesting. So does it look like Sam George will carry it in 24?
Of course, it's an NDC stronghold, and it's looking like he'll keep it because...
Will MTK be tempted to go on independent?
No, he's actually called Sam George to congratulate him and has asked for unity in the party to be able to win power in 2024. So it does not look like he will
so
go.
NPP have to pick their candidate from Prampram.
Yes, if they want to. You know, Tete has battled Sam George in that constituency before in 2016. And that one was also very keenly contested in 2016.
He's from Prampram?
Yeah. Tete, no, he's also from Ningo. He's also cousins to Sam George, from the same family.
Are they the royal family in Ningo?
Yes, they are also in one of the royal families, they are one of the most influential families when you go to Ningo, New Ningo. So he contested him and it was also keenly contested, but it's expected that NDC will win it. You know, before E.T. Mensah left, his vote difference was going down. It was about a little over 1,000. But when Sam George came back, he took it to 10,000, the difference. And in the last election, he even increased it again to about 20,000. So it's expected that he will win the elections in 2024.